So you're going to need a bowl for mixing the chicken with the seasoning. Then you're also going to need a dish, Pyrex dish, to go into the oven. The size is going to be dependent on the amount of chicken you're going to make. And then you're going to need a wok. So I've just got a standard wok, and this wok's going to be used for the sauce that we're going to pour on top of the chicken once it's in the oven. So we're going to use some chicken thighs. Now, you can either use chicken thighs or you can use the thighs and the legs. I generally prefer it with the legs as well as the thighs. It just gives it additional variation. Depending on, your healthy habits, whether you would like to have it with the skin on and the skin off. Sometimes I will buy it with the skin on and I will take the skin off. Sometimes I'll use the skin. It entirely is dependent on, what you prefer. Some people just don't like the skin and some people can't do anything without the skin. So then I will going to use some everyday seasoning. So you can just get this from your regular supermarket. It doesn't really matter what brand you use, but that's really important. And this is for seasoning the chicken as well. I'm going to use some garlic puree. I like to have my garlic puree in like these little tubs. You can get these from Tesco's or Morrison's or anywhere else, but they're quite handy because they last a lot as well. Actually, that's not garlic, that's ginger. You can actually get that in the garlic form as well, but I'm going to use this from a ginger perspective, and I'm going to use actual garlic cloves. Because when you put the garlic cloves in, they kind of I think they add a different kind of taste to it all. Now, I have got some pepper in here, and depending on whether you like pepper or not, this is a good option. I like to put just a little bit of pepper just to give it that bit of an added edge. But again, it's up to you. If you're really anti-pepper, then don't use it. You can always just use the standard black pepper and salt. That's fine as well. But I like to use a little bit of spice just to give it a little bit of a kick, but nothing that's too extra. I'm going to use some olive oil. I like to use the extra virgin olive oil as well. So I'm going to use that in, and that's primarily going to be when we're creating the sauce. But I'll take you through step by step, so you don't need to worry. You just need to know what ingredients you need to have. Barbecue sauce, we're going to use some of that. And then I'm going to use some mixed herbs, so that's what's in here. Vegetable stock is also good. You can use vegetable stock or chicken stock. I prefer to use the vegetable stock, but yeah, you can also use the chicken stock. It's just that sometimes if you're using all of this seasoning and you're putting in the chicken stock, sometimes it can be a little bit overpowering or end up, tasting a little bit too salty. And another thing that I'm going to be using is this red wine, just concentrate. Yeah, I got this from HelloFresh. However, you don't need to use it in this form. You can just put some red wine in, but you don't also have to do that as well. I'm just doing it as an added extra. And if you're using red wine, please don't overpower it, because then all you're just going to taste is the red wine. And although it's great for cooking, it's not great when it's overpowered. And lastly, but not least, I am using what's in here, this is soy sauce. So yeah, so some soy sauce. I'll give you the actual proportions in like teaspoon and spoon sizes, because that's a lot easier for you to identify with. And then lastly, I'm going to be using some finely chopped tomatoes. Again, you can use any kind of brand that you want to. You just want to make sure that they are finely chopped. I also forgot to mention that we will be using some onions as well. 3/4 of an onion to the 4 pieces of chicken that we have should be more than enough. Yeah. Grab yourself a drink and let's cook. So I'm going to put 1 tablespoon of the everyday seasoning that I showed you earlier, and you just pour that over. Then you're going to put half a teaspoon of the ginger puree in. Now, you can actually cheat with the chicken, so you can purchase chicken that's already been seasoned, and you can just pick whatever season you want. So I've used at times Mexican seasoned chicken or Chinese seasoned chicken, so you can do that. And if you go to places like M&S, they have some really nice seasoned chicken, so you can do that, and that means you don't have to necessarily season your chicken. But if you want to do it from scratch, this is how you do it. Then you want to put 1.5 tablespoons of the barbecue sauce in there. And then you're going to put a tablespoon of soy sauce. Now, there's about 5 pieces of chicken in here, so obviously if you're putting more chicken, that you might want to adjust it up. What I'll suggest is that sometimes, you can put all the seasoning in, and it depends on how much salt you like, I guess, will determine, how much flavour you want, but this is essentially what I'm doing. And then I'm just putting 1/4 teaspoon of that pepper. It is a special kind of pepper, so it's not like a really hot pepper, but when you put it in, it just does add a little bit of something. And then what you're going to do is mix everything together, and then your chicken is pretty much ready to go onto the oven dish once you've taken the oven dish out of the oven, because you want to make sure that the oven dish is hot. This is the kind of consistency that you are seeking to find, so you can see everything's all nicely mixed. And I'm just going to pop that to one side now, and then I'm going to start with the sauce. So you're going to want to put some oil in your pan, olive oil. I generally put roughly about 1 tablespoon, and that should be enough. And you're going to first of all just put your onions in. And again, we use 3/4 of an onion. So, you know, want to swivel that around, toss it up in the air. Okay, anyway. And you're just going to let that simmer for a little bit. You've got to make sure that the gas is quite low, because you don't want it to burn. You're just kind of almost just browning it in a way. You want to make sure that you've got your tomatoes, and here we're going to be using, I think it's 390. Let's double check it. Yeah, 390 grams. If you find something that's slightly less or slightly more, that's not a problem. We're going to use about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 garlic cloves here, but I'm going to put this actually in the Pyrex. I'm not going to put that in the sauce. That's going to go in the Pyrex. And then this is my tablespoon of mixed herbs, so that's going to go in as well. Sometimes you can get some tomato, like a fine chopped tomato that has already got the herbs in, so you can also do that as well. That might be cheaper for you. And then we're going to also add in the stock, the vegetable stock, and I'm going to put in my wine juice, whatever. And like I said, you can actually put actual wine in if you want to, but I'll let you know exactly. If you're putting wine in, you make sure you don't put it in before you put in the tomatoes, whereas this you can actually put it in before. So this, if you were adding wine in, this is the time that you'd add the wine in. So you're going to leave this simmering probably for about 5 minutes, no longer than that, because like I said, you're not actually trying to cook it all while it's in the pot. You want to do that in the oven. You're just kind of blending, you know, the what do you call it, the flavors together. You're just blending it together at this point. So that's why we're doing it on low, and that's why we're not putting it in longer than 5 minutes. The wine just going in. So again, if you're going to put actual wine in, I'd say a tablespoon is fine. Don't need any more than that. Okay, yeah. And then just mix it all in for the final time. Leave it to simmer again for another 5 minutes. So in total, this should have simmered for about 10 minutes. That's all you need, 10 minutes, and then after 10 minutes, just turn it off and let it cool down. So I've put the gas on 250. I'm going to turn it down to 220 because you want it to be quite hot at first when the chicken goes in, and then after roughly about 5 or 10 minutes, you then go into lower the temperature in the oven. So here's my chicken. I've just taken the Pyrex out of the oven, so it is spanking hot, boiling hot, I hope. Well, maybe not that spanking hot. It should be hotter than that, to be fair, because it should be sizzling, but it's not sizzling. But anyway, well, it's sizzling slightly. So anyway, so you put your chicken in. As you can see, I'm putting my chicken in. There you go. So I have actually got 5 pieces in, so it fits perfectly. Yeah, so it is actually quite hot. Okay, and now that that's in, I'm now going to put my garlic pieces in. I'm just going to literally, you know, spread them around, doesn't really matter where it goes. So I'm going to put this directly into the oven for about 5-10 minutes, and then once it's browned, I'm then going to turn it around and put the sauce on top. Now this is a great meal to go with on a bed of rice, but you can also have it with cabbage, or you can have it with some potatoes. It just depends on, you know, whatever you fancy. But yeah, I like to have it with some rice, and you can also have some vegetables as well. So it just really depends as to how much you want, who you're preparing the food for, if it's just for yourself or if it's for somebody else, you know. Either way, it will work. So 10 minutes is up, and I've just taken it out of the oven. And you can see it's just slightly browned in there, and you can start to see the juices, the oil coming out. That's just perfect. This is what you're looking for. Now we're ready to pour the sauce over it, mix it up a little bit, and then put it back in the oven. So there, I've just put the sauce in, so you can see. Doesn't that look beautiful? Obviously the chicken's not cooked yet, so don't attempt to eat it, but you can just see here, you can just see how it's just sizzling nicely. All the juices from the chicken's coming up. So now we're going to put it back in the oven. Now this time when you put it back in the oven, you want to turn the oven down, and you probably want to put it at 150 degrees, whatever that is, gas mark, I don't know, but yeah, you just turn it down. In this whole dish, you're not covering the chicken at all. You're not covering the dish, you're leaving the dish open. Okay, so 30 minutes are up, and look at the finished results. I'm just going to check to see that the chicken's cooked, so, you know, just use the standard dipping in, making sure that it runs clear, which it has done. And yeah, that's it. That's how you make this dish. Enjoy.